Just 3.5 weeks to the festival and counting. Plenty more festival clues coming this way this weekend. Fingers crossed, the action goes ahead. Tanya Stevenson is along sandwich. Look ahead to some great cards. And Tanya, Stormy Nice having its say on Friday. Fingers crossed, all okay for Saturday. It's going to be tested all around the country.
Yeah, weather watch all round, isn't it? And you hope that there's going to be no storm damage. Fingers tightly crossed for that, because that will be crucial as well. But yeah, no, it goes without saying. Haydock have already got an inspection, but let's hope it passes. And we've got some great action with the Grand National Trial.
We certainly have. I just must mention, fresh from your appearance on Question Time last night, we want all the answers today, not the questions. You've been put in the world
I
to
know.
the answers today. So, Ascot Chase.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's really refreshing to have a real competitive, wide open Grade 1 with a dead 8 going to post, isn't it?
Isn't it fantastic? And I suspect that Joseph sent Fakaduderi over early, so he can be competitive. Heads up there, mind you. Mark Walsh, what a man in form. Last 10 rides, he's had 7 winners. Can he carry it over? But yeah, as you say, dead 8, lovely competitive 8 as well, and not all of them have contested Grade 1s, yet they are not out of it in the betting because of the way that they're improving. Yeah,
they certainly are. Yeah, you mentioned like the outsiders, maybe 2 for Gold, a Lost in Translation, 1 here at the track as well. Dash Drash, the reigning champion. Yeah. It is wide open. Come on, what are you fancying?
Well, you have to see how the race is going to be run, and immediately you see Dash Drasher, you know that horse potentially could be your front runner. That's the dashing horse was brilliant last year when he won the race in that sort of style. Rex Dingle will be mindful it's him on board, and he no doubt has had chats to Matt Griffiths, and we're hearing that he has, which is great news as Matt Griffiths continues to make his recovery. And wouldn't this be a wonderful fillip for Matt if he goes to win this race? But there are so many that can just sit behind. Let's start off with Joseph O'Brien's Irish Raider. This is first Raider for Joseph at Ascot in National Huntsmere, so there's a stat for you. But what a mighty raider it is. It's a horse that has run in Grade 1s for fun. The last 2 races it's finished behind Alloa, brings some real strong Grade 1 form to the race. And you can understand why it's favourite, because that rating that it sits on is a rating that in fact is coming down to, I believe, at about 163. So you've got to run to 163 to win this, because I can't see Fakaduderi regressing in form. St Calvados has only had a few races in the last year or so, or since he's had a couple of runs in a King George, and he's shown himself up well. He travels well, but we haven't seen what he can do in a strong finish, and that worries me. He'll run into the race beautiful with Dashel Drasher up front. It just worries me. Mr. Fisher, well, Mr. Fisher's form's worked out well because he won at Kempton. He beat Eldorado Allen, and that horse, if you hadn't been watching racing, has come out and won the Denman Chase. So that form's solid. But how much more improvement is there to come from Mr. Fisher? Okay, he's rated, I think, about 162 now, or might be a little bit less, so forgive me. He's got to improve a couple of pounds for his runs, and I can't see that. Then you come along to Fanon Destraval, who I'm a cheerleader for that horse. And last year he ran in the Clarence House Chase, and I was really disappointed in the fact that it wasn't ridden more positively, but I can see why not, because you are running against some real brutes of Grade 1's horses behind First Flow, in fact, and he ran on into the race. Now this is over a little bit further, but once again, he hasn't got no bona fide Grade 1 form, and although he tried to concede weight but failed last time, I worried that being towed along by the Dashel Drasher pace is going to be too much for him. So let's look down to horses that are a little bit way down in your betting, which is great for me, like a bit of an outsider. Waiting patiently, though. Well, we've all waited too patiently for him, and he's lost his way so far. You'll need sat-nav to get him back. But I guess all of us will, if he came round the final turn at Ascot and travelling superbly well, we wouldn't be surprised. We'd just be frustrated and ruin the fact that we weren't on him each way. But he is a previous winner. I'm looking to, first of all, 2 for Gold. who was the horse that beat Dash or Drasher at Lingfield, mainly because people say, well, yeah, but it's got no Grade 1 form, but he's improving gradually. And I know his main aim, I sense, will be at Aintree in April. But this is a great race for him to see how far he's progressing. I'm not suggesting he could win, he could nick a place. Lost in Translation. Now, Lost in Translation ran here at Ascot recently, only a couple of runs ago, and was really well in the fact that the way he went on to win. He then ran in the King George, but we can find so many excuses about Lost in Translation in King George's. He either doesn't like Kempton or he doesn't like the race itself. It's just a fact, but he's won recently. So my thoughts in the race, I think Dash or Drasher could make all. I could think my second will be Lost in Translation and 2 for Gold for third. There you go, 1, 2, 3. I'm not ignoring Fakou Dudery and I'm not ignoring Mark Walsh. I'm trying to find a bit of value. And I just think that Dash or Drasher, 5 runs at Ascot, 4 wins. So he's Mr. Ascot, the horse, and whereas Fakou Dudery hasn't been there.
Is it very much horses for courses as well? Asking is a bit of a expressive track. So not only ask for the winner, you give us a value, you give us a tri-cast, smashing it out of the park as well. Right, 2.5 mile handicap hurdle prestige. That this is right up your alley.
Oh, you want me to give you one?
We've got we have got a short price favourite, Tanya, in Good Risk and All. You know, he could be chucked in, couldn't he? What we're seeing, but he's bumped into some nice novices. But I think the hurdles have certainly got in the way, and he's not going to be able to make many mistakes here.
No, and you mentioned chucked in, and I guess if you haven't got the form to hand and you're listening to Matt and I now, it's the fact that run behind John Bon is just 6 lengths behind, and he comes in here off a very nice rating, a really competitive racing, because you've got Easy's Land carrying your top weight, everyone, and Christopher Wood carrying 11.9, which then helps your favourite with a lovely weight. I worry here though, this race, I worry here that it may go to an outsider, mainly because the conditions. Ascot we don't often see on soft, and by the time we get to post time, it might actually have the word in heavy in the description, which is a rarity for Ascot. And although this horse of Sam Thomas's is from France and it's run very well, it's now going to have to kind of roll up its sleeves and get stuck in. And we say it could be lenient, but as you say, the hurdles get in the way. We've got a Paul Nicholls horse in the race, Cap de Mathan, who too has been kept sort of on soft ground, but he came back from a layoff last time. He's been kept to Taunton, not really. Both the front 2 of the betting are stepping into the fray of really competitive handicaps, and they could be thrown in. Christopher Wood will give its rating and running. The problem with Christopher Wood is it's just recently changed yards from Paul Nicholls to Venetia Williams. That shouldn't stop the horse running as good as it can. It's very good. It finished second to Tommy's Oscar last time. That's the type of form you're carrying in, but then also you're going to have to carry a burden of 11.9. Another horse, you mentioned something that could be thrown in. What do we know about the Alan King horse ridden by Sam Whaley? Yeah, we're all shaking our head. We're looking down Piccadilly line. We're thinking it's had 3 runs in Auteuil. The ground could be suited, and he's decided to go straight in a competitive handicap with this horse. That I suddenly thought, oh my goodness me. But as you say, this sort of race is right up my street. Indeed it is. So I'm going to go for a little bit of an outsider, a little bit of value for a horse that has run in a Grade 1. It has run in the Greatwood Hurdle, finished 11th. But last time out really caught my eye. Maybe a little bit cheeky, a little bit mischievous, the horses, because it's got cheek pieces on for the first time. It is Straw Fan Jack. Sheila Lewis trains. I mentioned the Grade 1. It took on My Drogo at Aintree in a Grade 1 and really ran above itself, finished 6th in that one. But since then, that Greatwood run, if you watch it again, he ran it in and out in spells, but that's the form he's bringing into this. And then last time out at Aintree, he came to the second last and the last, and they're kind of fanned out as they are in those hurdle races at Aintree. He felt he was in there pitching, having been naughty at the start and conceded a lot of ground. He then ran into the race, and I think he expended too much energy. Ascot could be his sort of track, and he's run really well there before at a novice hurdle. has Straw Fan Jack. This could be it could be totally overlooked. Nice little each way price, but I sense he could win this because he's battle hardened without having too many races, and he went to a high of 134, and for no reason he's been dropped to 131, which is really handy, I sense, in this race. Sean Houlihan gets on well with him.
Yeah, maybe one sticking out there. It's a nice price as well, and you've got the big price winners of handicap hurdles. What about handicap chases? They're the 225, the Swinley handicap chase. Do these fine tune up for the Grand National? Maybe Rio's on-course back for his 118th start at Ascot as well. But all eyes are drawn to the top weight, maybe Fiddler on the Roof, who could be Gold Cup bound.
You have to, don't you? I mean, isn't it lovely and refreshing? We've seen it a couple of times. I just mentioned earlier with Fanon D'Estraval tried to concede weight, but isn't it lovely to see Fiddler on the Roof, who we know has got really hot established form, try and concede weight to some unexposed handicap chasers or exposed ones or ones that might be on a lovely mark, and just say, here I am with my rating, sort of rolling his shoulders, come and get me. I've had, I think it's 17 races, and he's only ever been out the first 3 once. So just a warning to you all. And other than remastered in that race at Newbury, you felt for 1 minute that, or a few split seconds, that he might get there in that Newbury race. I also felt that maybe Gold Cup bound, but also maybe we haven't seen him because of Tuesday this week. There was the Grand National weights, and they were waiting to see what kind of mark he would get. They're probably encouraged, but he's a class, and he's going to be very hard to beat. So let's look at some of the others. Ask Me Early, just a warning to everyone, he's doubly engaged. He's in this, and he's also at Wincanton. He's Harry Fry, maybe he's sort of holding his cards to his chest because he's been running him over hurdles, yet he's rushed up the handicap in the chases. 122 to 139 over chases, and then had 2 hurdle races. Does Harry think there's more to come? If there is, then you sense, oh, we'll win the race. If he doesn't, I tend to think he's very able. He is going to improve, but Fiddler on the Roof is very good. Caribbean Boy, well, we know he was in the mix on Tuesday for the Grand National weights, and he was very good when he conceded weight at Kempton last time, but then he was dropping down to an attractive mark, so he was entitled to put in that bold run. He dropped about 4 or 5 pounds. Then you looked at some of the others. I'm talking about Hold That Talk, which I was disappointed by last time out, maybe the ground. Larry runs well at Ascot, but I think he's on a mark that he's held, and you don't really know what his best trip is, because we saw him over 3 mile 5 at Sandown, and then last time out at the 2 mile 5. We've got Cobo Lobo, who got in a good old battle with Cat Tiger last time. So if you're not on Fiddler on the Roof, which I tend to think I am, I'm going to do an each way and a little forecast. I'm going to pick a horse out here that you thought only joined the Peter Marsh about 2 out, because his silks were always silks, or his woolen colours were so clean that you thought he joined at the second last, and then he suddenly come into commentary at the last, and you think, well, where have you been? And that's Fortescue, who's ridden by Hugh Nugent, who's still looking for his first Ascot winner. But Fortescue is not going to do anything quickly, but he's not going to make any errors, just like he didn't in the Peter Marsh. He just was a safe conveyance, and he ran a blinder, only beaten about 3 lengths by Royal Pagao. So that's the kind of form you're bringing in. But I don't think where he sits on his mark, he's good enough, even on that, to beat Fiddler on the Roof. I think Fiddler on the Roof is a Haven carrying top weight should win. But Fortescue, if you want a little sport in each way, he'll get into the race probably at the last. You won't hear his name till the last fence, and you think, oh, where have you been? And that's just him.
Well, that's a lovely link. Fortescue is 3rd of the Peter Marsh. We're going to go to Haydock now and look at the Grand National Trial, because just ahead of him was Sam Brown. But look, this Grand National Trial, fingers crossed Haydock goes ahead, by the way, 8 a.m. precautionary inspection. I mean, this is an absolute cracker, isn't it? We've got Mudlarks, we've got Stayers, we've got Bristol de Mai, loves it, Lord Domineer, last year's winner, Black Lion, who won over course and distance in every ground, a Welsh Staffordshire winner in Secret Reprieve. What wins the Grand National Trial, Tanya?
I don't know. I've been having a good think about the Grand National Trial, and You mentioned Secret Reprieve, and I think a few people cracked his run in the Welsh National, and I thought, considering, I mean, Evan Williams said he got a task to get him to the track, and he did get him to the track. I thought for one moment, I think it was 4 out, that he was coming into contention, and also he was carrying a lot more. He was carrying a lot more weight and expectation. I thought he ran really well, and for something like Secret Reprieve, you not only think this race, you're probably thinking another race. He needs this for something else. Sam Brown is always there or thereabouts, isn't he, Sam Brown? And Black Lion finished second in this. You have to rewind the clock to 2017. He was second in this in 2018. He loves it round here. And Black Lion suddenly he's just come into form, hasn't he, Black Lion? And could he go one better a few years on? Bristol de Mai is Mr. Haydock. And once again, we are going back to that Lingfield race with Dashel. Yeah, I can see your smile there. And I do think that race is a very solid race and it stands up well. And Bristol de Mai, I didn't think at any point was comfortable at Lingfield, and yet ran a blinder because he's Haydock. Haydock has no undulations. Lingfield is got the massive sweeping hill. And back here at Haydock, once again, we're talking of a horse that's going to concede weight, and he could well concede weight and just trot on round and say, this is my home. And although I didn't run well against A Plutard, he showed that he had retained not all his ability, not his top class 160, 170, 167, but he's still got 160 on his card. And there's not many here, even with the working out the weights, that can match that. So he's going to be there or thereabouts. That's Bristol de Mai. Mint Condition, I love Mint Condition. Brian Hughes is on Mint Condition, but once again, that might be an issue. I tell you who could also run well, because we just don't know too much about the horse, and that's the Galloping, the Galloping Bear.
When you said the Lingfield race, I thought this is where you were going, because I'm quite sweet on his chances.
Because you felt at there was, because you don't know him, and you know he's won. The horse places like Cartmel and Chepstow, he fell at Chepstow. You just don't know the ceiling of his improvement. And I thought with his jumping got him round, and he seemed to gain like half a length at every fence at his jumping at Lingfield. And Lingfield's heavy is comparable to Haydock's heavy, because the both of them are like running in swimming pools. So the Galloping Bear has only got 10.7. He's going to get chunks from Bristol de Mai. So there would be my two: Bristol de Mai, who's Mr. Haydock, and the Galloping Bear, because we still don't know his ceiling. And if Bristol de Mai sometimes gets a little bit put off by horses jumping alongside him, as we've seen, Galloping Bear, well, he's well named. He'll just keep galloping. And the ground, I think when Ben Clark was interviewed, he just said the heavier the better for the Galloping Bear. So the Lingfield form's going to ring true, because the ground is comparable at both venues. So I'll have the Galloping Bear and Bristol de Mai, my two. If I'm going to have to stick to one, the Galloping Bear.
Yeah, Ben Clark had a double at Sandham as well on a Thursday. Young trainer, former assistant to Anthony Honeybutt. It's going to be testing there, Tanya. It's going to be testing the Rendlesham as well. Probably won't shake up the Stayers hurdle mark. I think Thomas Darby's going to miss it and go to Aintree. Mentioned Lingfield from that Winter Million. It's going to be tested because Topville Ben beat Emiton there. Could those two be two to concentrate on?
Yeah, they could be. Topville Ben, it was great to see him win, because Topville Ben is a very talented chaser. And it was great to see Philip Kirby try him back over hurdles again. And I just think if he does does pick up the engagement and race against Emiton, I think the form's going to stay the same. Topville Ben will finish ahead of Emiton, even though Emiton's a previous winner of this race. The issue is, though, I just think last year's winner may win it, and that will be Third Wind. who Hughie Morrison trains, and Third Wind brings in the form of Sporting John, and that form I feel is very good indeed. I know perhaps towards the head of the market, I think, is it Molly Ollie's Wishes? She's towards the head of the market. I'm not so sure how she'll like a grueling, heavy Haydock, despite the fact that she'll get a few pounds from Third Wind. I just think he's a more robust character, and he's proven himself, and he's I think we underrate Third Wind, and we think, because he's got a pulled up and a 7th. We shouldn't underrate this horse, because certainly in races like this, he goes round and picks these up just for fun. And for me, Third Wind will just sit in behind Topville Ben, Emerton. Nice to see. I think Holston's back after a while, but Third Wind for me, just to be winning for the 2nd year running. He can deal with the ground. He can deal with Haydock, and he ran really well behind Sporting John last time.
There we are, the Third Wind to win that for a 2nd year running. And somebody else bidding for a double 2 years running in the Kingwell hurdle at Wincanton is Goshen. This looks a match, doesn't it? But it's a cracking match. Goshen, looking to win it again, but we never know what Goshen's going to turn up. Back to form at Sandown last time. I thought he kind of fell in a little bit there. Those were disappointing. Taking on the returning Adagio, laying his champion hurdle credentials on the line. Yeah,
this will be a little bit harder for Goshen. He won it last year. I wouldn't discount Favois out of the little mix as well. I just didn't think he got into it like he should have done at Lingfield last time. The class in this, or the speed in this more is Adagio. You just sense, just picking up snippets off social media, picking up snippets of quotes, that Adagio is ready to do battle with Goshen. But Goshen's come in and picked up that victory, as you say, at Sandown last time, but perhaps the victory fell into Goshen, like you mentioned. Adagio, if he's going to even consider going to Cheltenham for the champion hurdle, he ought to be winning this. And that's no offence on Goshen, but if you can't get £3 from Goshen and beat him, then you better go for something else at Cheltenham rather than the champion hurdle, because you're going to be taking on Honeysuckle and co, and you're going to be struggling. I would just also be wary of, as I mentioned, the Dan Skelton runner in this, because the ground is going to be, once again, I sense that, or Wincanton, because that area is bearing the brunt of the storm, is going to have heavy in the ground, and we know that has won and run well at Haydock in heavy surfaces. It's going to be these are not only going to be the dynamic of working out the tactics in a race like this, it's those who can cope with the conditions, and some in these kind of races. It's not saying A is better than B, it's A is better than B, but can they wade through treacle? And Favois can, I sense, do that, whereas Adagio is more of a graceful, stylish, very economical, swift hurdler, and he might get bogged down in really, really heavy ground. That's what would worry me. I'd be more looking to a complete shock in that race, and that would be nothing against the ability of Adagio. It's just the conditions.
Yeah, so and David Patch not really going to have a hard race, is he? 3.5 weeks out from the festival. So we'll look to plenty of the big races this week. What would be the idea of a best bet on the cards this Saturday, Tanya?
Strawfan Jack. There you go in that handicap. And you say I like a handicap hurdle. It was Strawfan Jack. As soon as I saw it when the decks come through, I'd been looking out for Strawfan Jack since the run at Aintree, and thought, where would you pop up next? And I was then thinking that it might, if the rating was sufficient enough, he might get in a Cheltenham handicap, or indeed another Aintree. I thought it might have to wait that long, but it's handy that it's turned up at Ascot. It's just his track. So Strawfan Jack. I'll step away from the Ascot Chase, which is a fabulous, fabulous race. So Strawfan Jack and maybe Fiddler on the Roof, but my best bet would be Strawfan Jack.
Very well, and Straw Fan Jack, as I say. Remember having helpers in the Coral Cup at the festival? She likes a handicap earl and a big prize. So Straw Fan Jack, fingers crossed, can get the job done this weekend. The final few festival clues taking place this weekend, as we're 3.5 weeks away from the greatest show on turf. Thanks to Tanya for joining us. She's going to join us as well on Monday for the Road to Cheltenham show, myself and Joe Ross, as we look back on the weekend's action and ahead to next Saturday as well. So that'll be live on Betfred's YouTube channel from 5 o'clock on Monday evening. But thanks to Tanya. Fingers crossed for Straw Fan Jack, and have a great weekend.